Hello everybody, it's Jackie Keen here, and I guess this video is a lot different than what I used to make, but I guess today's subject is something I really want to talk about and have discussions about, and that is baby reindeer. And of course, since we are discussing baby reindeer, we are going to get into some heavy topics such as stalking, sexual abuse, and assault in the discussion of the effects of these abuses. So, obviously, if you're not in the right mind to discuss or hear about these topics, click off, just take care of yourself, have a great day, and to everybody staying, thank you, and thanks for listening and watching to my commentary. And, I'm gonna talk about my mic for a second. I don't have like a YouTuber mic, okay? I am just using what I have available to me. So before I really talk about my discussion or my take or whatever the hell I'm talking about, honestly, I am just gonna summarize this for you. Baby Reindeer is a Netflix special miniseries following the protagonist Donnie Dunn. Uh, he is a Scottish man who aspires to be a comedian, participating in comedy competitions and posting his videos online to attempt to start up his career in comedy. And he has been working at a bar to make ends meet. One unfortunate day, he meets a woman named Martha who comes into the bar. Seeming down on her luck, Donnie offers her a drink on the house just to cheer her up, which then spirals into months of stalking and harassment throughout the series. And throughout it, we witness the abuse and the effects of the abuse and how it can destroy someone's entire being. I recommend watching it yourself before continuing on with this video to gain a better understanding and to see the entire story of Baby Reindeer. The series begins showing us that the events of the series have already happened. Donnie attempting to report Martha for her acts of stalking and harassment against him, and then he tells the story himself from the beginning. His first line of the show is him describing the very start of everything. And he says, "I felt sorry for her. That's the first feeling I felt. It's a patronizing, arrogant feeling, sorry for someone you've only just laid eyes on, but I did. I felt sorry for her." This is how Donnie first felt when he saw Martha when she walked into the bar during his shift. This marks an important message that seems to be lost by most people that I see on the internet discussing baby reindeer. This very first episode shows that something small can start something life-changing. And by no means was this series trying to tell anyone to not do kind acts for others because something bad might happen. It is showing us the flaws of society where empathy can be misconstrued for love. In my personal experience in romance and what I've witnessed, kindness and love are often confused for one another. Oftentimes, I see people, especially other teenagers, do this exact same thing. In today's society, kindness is often seen as something that has ulterior motives. For example, buying a drink. The first act of kindness Donnie does for Martha is giving her a free drink after she claims she couldn't afford anything. To people in society today, however, see, buying a drink as some type of flirting. Come on, we all know that. Or like a show of affection of some sort. But the main point here is it wasn't that. It was an act of pity or sympathy. Whether you believe that being kind to someone out of pity is messed up or not, it was an act of kindness purely just to make her day. And following this act of kindness, Martha is heavily deluded. Already having a history of stalking and harassment, we know that she is not mentally well. No matter how many times Donnie sets boundaries within the first episode, Martha still firmly believes that he loves her deeply, but just has past trauma. Hence the scene at the cafe where she makes the accusation at Donnie that he is simply hurt by another woman and demands for names of people that have hurt him in the past. Unfortunately, though, after the scene at the cafe, Donnie makes a mistake of being curious. Donnie does not understand why she feels the need, oh my god, he feels the need to make her laugh. And he doesn't understand why she is so in love with him or why she thinks he is so in love with her, and follows her home. He discovers that Martha is lying about her living situation, and the following day, Martha comes to a comedy show that Donnie is performing at, and they discuss it because he was being a quote unquote peeping Tom. Martha has further pushed herself into the belief that Donnie is in love with her, and proceeds to confess her love towards him. Donnie does acknowledge this and goes home researching on her further, which is where we discover the history of stalking and harassment and job history, which leads us into this next section. At the end of the first episode, when Donnie discovers that he had been being stalked by someone who has already been convicted of the same crime before, Donnie, as a victim of grooming in the past, already has a hard time not knowing what to do, and actively throughout the series shows a symptoms of a grooming victim, feeling a constant need for love, but he knows he needs to get out. Donnie is empathetic, even if it means his safety, so he tries to let Martha down easily. He will make up any excuse to try to show her that he does care about her, but just doesn't want to be with her. We know Martha doesn't understand this, but Donnie doesn't. From an outside perspective, we know everything because it is being told in such a way where every detail is shown already and being told. But we tend to forget Donnie's point of view, despite him telling it. Donnie knows that she's an ex-convict. He knows that the stalking is hurting him and his relationship. But he also reminds himself constantly that Martha may also be hurting. He doesn't want the feeling of guilt just for feeling guilty of hurting her feelings. And with that, it doesn't matter if the abuse is towards him. Donnie also repeatedly denies to people that he cares about it that much, to also make them not worry, and to also convince himself that it doesn't matter. Donnie is very aware that the abuse is taking place here, but believes that he is simply not important enough to be cared about, even by himself. This type of behavior of denying severity of the situation creates a cycle of behaviors that puts you back into abuse. This is something that most people criticize Baby Reindeer for. Donnie puts himself into these situations where the abuse continues, so I will try to explain the best I can because psychology is confusing and I understand why someone doesn't get it. In simple terms, you cannot get out of the abuse without acknowledging both it and its severity. Like, you just can't. You aren't able to acknowledge that something happened while also saying that, like, oh, it wasn't that bad, or even believing that it was your fault, which is highly common with victims of sexual abuse. Unfortunately, it creates a cycle of abuse that leaves the victim keep going back to their abuser, where it's sometimes, at the absolute worst, going back to being abused more out of the crave for love and not fully understanding that it's abuse. Leaving your abuser it's never simple, and many victims will go back to their abusers for various reasons, whether it's comfort or empathy for their abuser, or in Donnie's case, the craving to be thought about and desired. There are multiple instances where Donnie goes to take care of Martha's feelings or to feel cared for by her. In episode 3, he takes Martha back to her house after he stays outside near Donnie's residence and tries to set boundaries with her while also trying to keep her feelings into consideration. In another episode, he goes back to have sex with her because he didn't know how else to fix his libido. As we could see here, this is a cycle of going back for a reason that someone will call selfish, as he does it in an attempt to raise his own low self-esteem. This is something that actually happens commonly, and to be a little vulnerable at that moment, I also did the same thing. I won't dive into my past, but I will say that I know exactly what it is like to go back to a situation that is bad in all kinds of ways to attempt to feel affection of any kind, even if it wasn't real. This is what I think people do not get. I believe that while this behavior isn't healthy, it deserves more understanding and consideration. He goes back to Martha to feel seen, to feel the kind of love he wants from fame, and he goes back to Darian, a man who would repeatedly drug and assault Donnie for the sake of his career. This is all he knows what to do. He doesn't know how to get healthy. These are also symptoms of Stockholm Syndrome. This is also evident with his relationship with Terry. Terry is a very important character in Baby Reindeer, and I do not see enough people talking about her. Terry is a trans woman who worked as a therapist that Donnie met online on a trans dating website. At the beginning of the series, we see that Donnie created a false identity to be someone else out of self-hate. Donnie does not believe that he is worth love and that he has to be somebody else to do it. And one of his worst fears comes out of this. He genuinely falls in love with Terry. However, Terry is the exact opposite of Donnie. Terry is fierce. She speaks her mind. She knows In summary, Donnie Dunn is a complex character that may be hard to understand, but from a perspective of understanding why he did it, it's hard to hate him. Donnie may not be the most likable. Many people hate him for his cycles of abuse that he goes through. But why do we hate him? Why do people hate him so much? I don't get it. Why do we hate the victim of abuse in this case? And for experiencing the aftermath and cycles and effects of it? In my personal opinion and experience, we hate him because we hate seeing vulnerability, especially in men. In the patriarch patriarchal society, men are meant to be dominant. Men do not get to experience these emotions. But even with a consideration, that, like, I see that happen in person and in my own experience with this. There's a certain kind of hate for people with Stockholm Syndrome, a certain kind of distaste, and it worsens when people see it in the media. Not just because people don't understand it, but because they don't want to see the horrific effects. People want to see a victim come out on top, to have justice, to have an ending where they can become at peace with themselves, or have some sort of restoration, or even revenge. Baby Reindeer, unfortunately, is not a story where we exactly get that closure, where we get to see someone heal in the ways we want to. But really, why should we hate that? Victims all around the world experience this, and, like, victims all around the world do not get the justice they deserve, and many victims do not heal. What we should hate from all of this is the fact that victims can't always heal. We can't always catch the person that's causing these damages. We can't always give them the help that they deserve. And we shouldn't hate the person who is suffering from the damages caused by the abuse. Every day I see people blaming victims for going back to the abuse. Baby Reindeer is for those people. Donnie Dunn's story reveals the truth we do not want to see and forces the viewer to confront the fact that this happens, but it seems to be lost on these people. People who go back to their abusers are not stupid, they are hurt and they need help. Hating characters like Donnie Dunn to me is a reveal of character to me. To me, it shows a lack of understanding, a lack of empathy, and possibly self-hate even. Victims often hate themselves for going back to their abuse. They wish they could stop? Oh my goodness. I'm so bad at speaking. Anyways, that they wish they could stop going back. Like I said, this story is not what people want to see. They want to see someone who's a survivor, not a victim, someone who comes out on top despite all odds. People don't want to believe that this is what they are and facing the situation they are in or have been in, and it can lead to people hating themselves. I believe that some people hate Donnie because they see themselves in him. They see what they are going through and they understand the hopelessness and cycles. But they don't want to see themselves as weak, and many people claim against victims who go through this. I apologize if you hear some stuff in the background. It is storming out and there's thunder and my dog does not react very well to that. But here we are reaching the final part of this video. This is my conclusion, and really I think just Baby Reindeer is a phenomenal show, and it shows us the effects of abuse, and that, like, the abuse that media doesn't want to acknowledge. I personally adore this show, and it honestly helped me see these things without feeling so much hate in myself. Like, yeah, it's uncomfortable. I mean, it's abuse. Abuse isn't supposed to be comfortable. Baby Reindeer does an amazing job to show a victim story without romanticizing it or criticizing the lack of help there is to properly help victims. With the scenes involving police showing up, how hard it is to come out, criticizing the rampant abuse in the entertainment history, and I think this series opens a door for victims to come together and to share their stories and to not be ashamed of themselves. I mean, abuse is hard to heal from, and the best thing we can do to heal is acknowledge the things that happened. It's a hard first step, but I think it's the most important one. And with that, to the countless victims of abuse that are scared, I see you. I'm proud of you for getting this far despite what has happened to you, and you are seen. You will have the ability to heal. Keep going. There is so much more to you than what you have been through. I, it's hard for me to word because, like, I need to tell this to myself more often. Just please reach out, gather your strength, find the spark in your heart, just live. You do not have to forgive anyone. You don't have to seek revenge either, and it's understandable to love your abuser, and it's a hard cycle to get out of, but you can break it. I believe in you. I do. Yeah, you, the person behind the screen watching this video with shitty Overwatch gameplay and a shitty ass mic. Yeah, you're watching me. I'm telling you. Oh my god, I'm so corny. Oh, well, that concludes all my thoughts on Baby Reindeer. Have a discussion, think of things. Let me know how you feel. What else? Oh, yeah, of course. Enjoy your herbal tea.